Hello again, paintballers. Yesterday, as my video was uploading, someone commented on one of the earlier videos saying, shoulders, shoulders, shoulders. Please talk about shoulders. So I hope you saw yesterday's video after it finally did upload and appreciated all the talk I did about shoulders. So for those who don't know where we are in the series, go back to video 1. Yesterday I talked about the press or push movement, and today we're going to talk about the pull movement. And I'm glad I didn't combine the two into one video, because if you saw yesterday's video, I could actually talk enough about just the push alone. So we're going to make this a separate video so that you're not munching 30 to 45 minute videos in a single session. So yesterday we talked about the push, which is pushing things away from you, or as I ended the video talking about the importance of working on your handstand, pushing yourself away from other things. Today we're going to talk about the pull, which is literally just the exact opposite in terms of what is resisted in these same ranges of motion. So instead of the resistance being pushing something away from you, we are pulling something to us, or pulling ourselves to something like you would in a chin-up or a pull-up. Both are really good movements that you should probably do a mix of weekly. But if I was to pick one thing that is the best that should be a part of your regimen, it would be pulling yourself to something else, meaning a chin-up or a pull-up style movement. But that's not to say that it is nearly as equal, or maybe even every bit as important, to be working on a row where you're doing like a cable machine or a hammer strength machine, something that you traditionally see in most gyms, where you can pull something towards you. But the big reason we have to do both, and we want to prioritize both a push and a pull, is because our shoulder has 360 degrees it's a joint made up of 360 degrees. So we want to be able to work as much of it as possible. And when we're pushing or pressing, we're basically working the lateral, front deltoid, and the chest muscles. So we're really neglecting a lot of what's going on behind us when we're only focusing on pressing. So to make sure we're getting all 360 degrees of the shoulder worked and conditioned so that it stays healthy, we want to make sure we're doing pulling movements that are going to stimulate all the muscles around your shoulder blade, as well as the big muscles that connect all the way down to the lumbar fascia, the lats, your traps, your rear deltoid, all these things, not just your shoulder blades. But if you can imagine, as far down as your lower back, all the way up to your trapezius muscles, which you can usually see right here beside your neck, those are all stimulated by doing pulling movements. So that's a lot of muscle mass to take care of, to stimulate. So it's very important that we make the pull a part of our weekly regimen. And I'm going to tell you how we can make sure that we are adapting it to the sport of paintball. So we don't do a lot of pulling in paintball necessarily, but for people who are crawling through the snake or just playing bunkers really low, we do actually find ourselves bent over, maybe in a quadruped position, which is like a cat-cow pose for those of you who know yoga, but basically on our hands and knees holding our gun. Because of that position where our back is the highest part of us and our body is facing the ground, when we're holding the gun in our hand, it requires a rowing motion. You can imagine if you were to pull that gun in against the force of gravity, then you would be doing a rowing motion. So even though guns aren't necessarily that heavy, when we're playing multiple games, we're getting tired, we're out in the heat, it is important to make sure that we have the endurance, that our muscles have the endurance to continue playing as we need to where basically our brains, our eyes can focus on the field and our body doesn't have to think about what it is doing. So we want everything conditioned well enough so that we don't have to even think that, oh man, I'm tired, or I'm starting to cramp up a little bit. My grip is, starting to cramp, or I'm just not able to hold this gun very well. I'd like to be a little bit higher, but I keep hitting the ground with my barrel, the tank, something like that. For some reason, I'm not getting the gun high enough off the ground while I'm in this position, and I keep hitting the ground. So for that reason, It's really good to do movements in the prone position, which prone is, think of plank. Any plank position, whether you're got your hands out against the ground or you're on your elbows, but basically where your chest is facing the ground. It's really good because that's going to transfer the most to the sport of paintball, but it is still a pulling motion when we're in this position. Gravity is running through our bodies towards the ground, and therefore when we pull something, we are resisting against gravity. We're rowing against gravity. So a renegade row, you can look that up. Again, I don't have time to make a bunch of fancy graphics in these videos. I'm trying to crank them out. But just Google search renegade row. You're in a plank position or a push-up position, and you're pulling a dumbbell towards you. That's going to do exactly what we do in the sport of paintball, crawling through a snake, or in the quadruped position, just playing low in a bunker, even if we're not crawling. It's going to stimulate the exact muscles that we would use on the field in that application. So one hand is stabilizing our body. Technically, that's doing a push. It's pushing us away from the ground, keeping us stable, while the other one is holding our gun and keeping it off the ground so that we can crawl or move without bumping the ground or something like that. You get the idea. Just like all the other exercises I've gone over so far, definitely endurance is the most important thing because we're just not really doing anything super heavy or super short duration in paintball minus a sprint, which we'll get to in a later video when we talk about gait. But definitely work on endurance. I really like circuit training. It's probably the single best exercise format you can use at the gym when you think of just doing one exercise at a time, or a superset, a tri-set. Circuits where you take 3 to 4 movements and you're just constantly going through it. You tend to be getting a stimulus of both resistance training exercises. You're able to hit multiple movement patterns, and you're challenging your stamina, your endurance. So you're getting a really good cardiorespiratory workout all at the same time. So adding a renegade row to a circuit. So in a renegade row, we basically have a push and a pull. If you can add another movement, maybe like a body weight squat or a goblet squat. Goblet's a real good variation for paintball because we're usually holding weight out in front of our bodies. We don't tend to have it on our backs. Plus, when you're lifting with weight on your back, you're usually going heavy. Not really something you want to mix into a circuit with a bunch of other exercises. So doing a lightweight endurance squat, and then maybe a hinge variation like a kettlebell swing is a really good one. That's 3 movements right there. You got a squat, a hinge, a push, and a pull, all in 3 movements while getting a cardiorespiratory workout at the gym. So I just gave you a free little circuit there to get you started if you want to go start training to play better paintball right now. Of course, good time for a shameless plug. If you want someone to write all your paintball workouts for you, check out playbetterpaintball.com and try one of my 3 different levels of difficulty paintball programs. Free trial in there for you if you want to check it out. So just to kind of recap, it's so important to make sure that we're doing a push and a pull every single week, because the push basically stimulates the front side of our shoulder. A pull is going to stimulate not just the back side of our shoulder, but all the way into the shoulder blades and all the way down to the lumbar. So really, really compound movement that we should all be doing, that every human should be doing. But of course, we can always adapt basic human movements to our sport, make them more sport specific. And if you didn't catch it, just rewind this video to find exactly the example I gave you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I think that does it for this video. Tomorrow we will probably talk about gait. So we're going to go over, again, one of the 7 basic human movements. We'll be talking about endurance running, sprinting, lunging. And then the video after that, we'll talk about the carry. And then I guess we have trunk rotation we still got to talk about, so that'll be another video coming up soon. But send me your ideas in the comments below if you have something specific that you want me to talk about, that you're dealing with, that you're struggling with, and you'd love some help on. Thanks again for any engagement that you give these videos. I really appreciate it. Obviously, thank you very much for your subscription and your support. I really do appreciate it. So anyway, have a good day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.